Hey guys, Angus here, bringing another airsoft video today. As you can see, yet again, not alone in the camera. Got my squad sniper here, Mike. Go subscribe to him. His channel is Scorpio4444. Might be another 4 in there. There'll be a link down below in the description. Anyway, we do have an airsoft review today. This is of his backup weapon. When he's sniping, he does have an AG on his back in case he does need to pull something out if things get a little close. This is the review of the KS P90 TR. Now, if you're interested in purchasing a KS P90, it won't be this exact model. This is basically the same exact thing as the other P90, except this one has a red dot on it. If you're interested in purchasing the KS P90, the normal version or the long-barreled version, there's a link below down in the description to airsoftstation.com. You can purchase those variants for $130 and $135. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the review of the KS P90. Alright, so for starters, let's go ahead and talk about the gun's packaging. As you can see, it's going to come in a standard cardboard box. Nothing flashy about it. It has a sticker up here and a small sticker on the front that says P90. Otherwise, it's a normal cardboard box. So let's go ahead and open it up. Now, when you open the box, is what you should see. As you can see, it's packaged in that cheaper styrofoam, not as nice as the black styrofoam. But as you can see, it does hold the items in place rather well. The only con being that this kind of styrofoam does kind of chip off and get on the gun. You have to rub it down after you first get the gun. So let's go ahead and see what's inside this box. You'll get your KS P90 manual. As stated, this is the TR, so this is the P90 TR, but it's probably going to be the exact same manual for each gun. There's a little bit of Chinglish in here. KS is basically JG. It's sold at different places as a JG or KS P90, and this is the P90 Echo 1 rebranded to form their Echo 1 E90, which is the same exact thing as this gun, just doesn't have the red dot on it. So, covered under a nice sheet of plastic, and inside the box you'll get standard 90 round speed loader. As you can see, it's a little bit of styrofoam there, as I was talking about. A 300 milliamp output small type trickle charger. This gun actually comes with a 9.6 volt battery. This is a 1200 milliamp 9.6 battery, small type connector. This battery is actually pretty big for the gun's battery space that is available inside the gun. You'll get a 70 round mid-capacity P90 magazine. Alright, so as you can see now, I got the gun out of the box, and honestly, first impression of this thing, I didn't like the P90 when it came here, and now I like it. Might even buy myself one. The G&G one's coming out, or the Tokyo Marui, or even the KS version. I think it's honestly a really nice gun, and since it is a bullpup, maybe it'll go into my collection. But enough about me, let's go ahead and talk about the gun's external construction. Now, external construction, pretty much everything on this gun is constructed of an ABS plastic or a polymer of some sort. It's a plastic component, but it's not a very cheap plastic. It's a decently solid, decently durable plastic. It also makes the gun very, very light in the front, but also a little back heavy in the back, of course, but that's natural. Being this being a bullpup weapon, your internals are in the back of the gun. Now, one thing I do want to mention about that real quick is that since the internals are back here, you get an M4 length barrel in the gun, so you can have this short, compact little P90 that's still going to have a decent amount of range on it because it has that very long barrel inside of it. That's what's nice about the bullpups. You get a nice long barrel in a very compact weapon. Now, as I mentioned, most of the gun is constructed of plastic. This sort of upper receiver here with the rails on it, the red dot on it, this is constructed of metal. As you can see, you got a metal RAS rail on here, and also your threads on the barrel are constructed of metal. When you first get the gun, of course, it'll come with an orange tip. This one just has been removed. It's a standard 14mm counterclockwise thread. Now, as I said, internals, you get a bullpup weapon here with all the internals in their back, so it is a little bit back heavy. You get the long barrel in here. It is a version 6 gearbox. You can do a bunch of upgrades to it and all that different stuff. And Mike's going to go ahead and talk about his personal experiences with his KS P90 TR.
Personally, I love the P90 because of the fact it's so compact, and I like to run around when I'm not sniping, and because of the fact it's bullpup, I'm still able to play field-sized games with it a lot. When we went to Picasso with Angus or whatever, that's a field, type of place to go airsofting with, and it still worked out perfectly fine. It's a great accuracy and range in such a short, compact weapon. That's what I love about it.
Alright, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into some of the features of the KS P90, and let's go ahead and get into them. Alright, now the first thing you're going to want to know before you get into the field is, of course, how to put the battery into your gun. Now, Mike's a little bit more experienced with this than I am, so he's going to go ahead and show us how to put the battery in. Like I said, the battery your gun will come with is a 9.6 1200 milliamp battery. Now, it's nice they included the 9.6 with the gun. That way you don't have to go out and buy one, but as you'll see in a second, this 9.6 is basically what you can fit inside this gun's battery compartment. Battery is housed back here in the stock just above the gearbox. You can go ahead and slip that rubber piece off of the butt of the rifle.
There's a button on the bottom right here. You just hit that and you push it down. And then you'll see there's a hole right here. The battery will just slide in like that and literally just barely fits. I don't know if you can really see that, but it just barely fits in there. And then you have to plug the battery into the gun. There's a little, you know, gap right there again. But literally, when you're done, everything will be stuck like that, and you have no room for error when putting the stock back on. Everything is extremely close. Now you can get a P90 custom 9.6 or 10.8 battery that will fit in this, but I would just recommend getting a bigger buttstock, because
when you push the rubber piece back on, it almost feels like it's ripping the wires when you push that back on, because it is a rather tight compartment there. So if you were to begin sliding this up, you'd almost feel like these small plastic and rubber pieces are pulling in the wires, tugging them, so it feels like as if you're going to rip them. And me being someone who's always worried I'm going to break something, I'd be a little bit afraid I'd rip the wires. So like he said, I really recommend you go ahead and get maybe a different custom battery for the P90, or more so just get a bigger buttstock so you can house this a little bit better. But battery compartment, besides that, if you wanted to put one of those small 8.4s in there, you weren't really worried about your rate of fire, you probably have a decent amount of battery space in there. You wouldn't have to worry about the wires tugging. But including the 9.6, I'd recommend you just go ahead and use the 9.6. But changing your battery in the field, you could probably do it with a battery like this. Just again, it might be a little bit tough getting the butt plate back on. Alright, so features-wise, first thing we're going to go ahead and talk about here is the gun's magazine. And the magazine, of course, is located up here. And let's go ahead and eject it. In order to eject it, you push these two pieces in, and the magazine will raise up like so. Now, here's your magazine. As we mentioned, this gun will come with a 70-round mid-capacity magazine, but it is also compatible with the high caps. Mike, I believe you have how many mid-capacity magazines for this gun?
7.
So he's got about 500 rounds of ammo on him in these P90 magazines. I like the P90 magazine. It's constructed of plastic. It's a solid plastic. It also has all the nice little fake bullets in there. It makes the magazine look a lot cooler. The BBs actually feed down below here, so you do have to fill it with your speed loader there. And the way it's inserted into the gun is you want to take it with the feed port of the BBs facing downward towards the gun, and you want to slip it into the P90 like so. And once you just simply push down, hear that loud clack, that means the magazine is secured into the gun and you're ready to fire. Now, have you had any feeding issues with the magazines?
I only had one where the screws were actually screwed too tight and it clamped down on the spring inside the mid cap, so it wouldn't feed all the way through. You just kind of have to hit it and it'll start feeding again. The good thing about mid caps, and the reason why I bought 7 mid caps instead of a high cap, is the way the high caps work is the spring is on the underneath part of the magazine. So when it stops feeding, you have to take it out and start winding it again, or you literally have to bang on top of the magazine until it starts feeding again. So that's why I decided just to go with the mid caps. I like mid caps a lot better anyway, a lot like Angus.
Alright, so the magazine wise, you shouldn't have any really major feeding issues with the magazine. And like I said, solid plastic, clicks in like so. It's a nice magazine. I like the P90 magazine. So you can actually select semi and auto just with the trigger, but we'll go ahead and show you the kind of selector switch right here. Hopefully you can see it. It's this small groove underneath the trigger, and as you can see, it's marked with the white and red letters. The white S, as you can see, currently the gun is on safety. Trigger cannot move back, and if you were to push this small piece over like so, and you hear that next click, you'll see a red 1. At that point, the gun is on semi-automatic, and you'll be firing 1 BB each time you pull the trigger. And push it all the way over, you see the red A, that means the gun is on full auto. On full auto, you should be getting a decent rate of fire out of the gun. Now, with that fire selection switch down here, you don't exactly have to use it just to make sure it's not on safety, because being similar to the AUG trigger, the double action trigger means if you pull it back slightly, and you hear that first little click, that means the gun is actually shooting on semi-automatic. So if you only pull it back slightly, you're getting a semi-automatic shot. If you were to push it back all the way like so, that's when it's on full auto. So it's kind of hard to chrono if you were going to try and chrono this gun, but it's also a nice feature considering you don't have to be playing with the selector switch the whole time. You have to make sure it's off safety. You can just pull the trigger back slightly for semi and pull it back all the way for full. But frankly, being someone who owns an AUG, what I normally notice that I don't like about those is that I have a tendency to pull the trigger back all the way. When I want to shoot semi, I'll end up shooting full just because I want to put as much pressure on the trigger as possible. But I have learned discipline, simply pull back, first click, semi-automatic, all the way back is full auto. So I like the double action trigger. Now, one of the pieces on here, this piece right here, you can pull that back on both sides. It is ambidextrous. It does no function at all, does not reveal your hop-up, because your hop-up is located on the underside of the gun, located just below the magazine and behind the trigger. Now, this is a small compartment here. You can simply shut it by sliding this shut after you've adjusted it. It's a small wheel in here. Simply stick your finger in, or something if you can't get your finger in there, you have fat fingers. You simply turn it around in order to adjust your hop-up. So this does no function at all. Now up here on the gun, It does have a RAS rail right here. I believe if you buy the normal version, you'll probably have a couple other rails and a rail up here to mount a red dot. This one includes a red dot, so of course you don't need a rail up there. But the rail is cool. You can mount a flashlight or a laser on there if you're going to be playing CQB games or some tactical scenarios. It's nice to have that customization option. Alright, now this being the P90 TR, of course this is going to come with a red dot. Like I mentioned countless times before, Airsoft Station doesn't sell this model, so yours won't come with the red dot. Only the TR model will. Now, Mike knows a little bit more about this red dot than I do, so he's going to go ahead and talk about it.
Switch is underneath the red dot, right above the magazine. You want to push it to the right. There's two settings on it. The first one is a little bit lower, but for a red dot, it's extremely big, and you cannot adjust how big it is. So you would never have any reason to turn it to the last setting, which is an even brighter setting, because then you won't even be seeing anything when you look down at it. So when you're going to use the red dot, keep it on the middle setting, just for practicality, because if you use the third setting, it won't help at all.
Now when you're in the field, can you see the red dot very well, or?
Yeah, you can see it perfectly fine. It's just, you know, you either, if
it's a little too bright?
Yeah, it's a little too bright and it's a little too big.
Alright, so the red dot on the P90 TR is a little bit of a con, but also a little bit of a pro. You do get a red dot on there, battery already in it. You get a very bright red dot with it though, so in the field it could be a little annoying too. Alright, so now we've covered all of the features of the KS P90 TR, let's go ahead and get into the final conclusion of this review. Now, this P90, I didn't like it when it came here, now I really like it after reviewing it, getting it to hold it. Think I might even buy myself one. External quality on the thing is actually pretty nice. It is mainly constructed of plastic, polymer, some sort of plastic component. But it's honestly a decently durable, decently solid plastic. It's not as solid as some other guns, but it is a pretty solid plastic. Up here, this whole rail area with the red dot, that is of course constructed of metal, as well as the thread for your flash hider, as well as the RAS rail on the right side of the gun. Now, internal construction, it's a bullpup rifle. It's a pretty back-heavy gun considering all your internals are located back here, and you do have a very nice long barrel in here. That's what's nice about the bullpups. You get a nice M4 length barrel inside the gun, so you can still have a decent amount of range with a short, compact weapon. Now, it is a version 6 gearbox. Go ahead and do some upgrades to that if you wanted to. And right now, I believe stock is shooting around the 350, 360 area. So if you put some .25s in this, which is what most fields chrono with, you could probably take this into CQB and go ahead and play. It's not like some other P90s, which are shooting 400 out of the box, so what's the point of having a P90 you can't use in CQB. Battery compartment on the gun, it comes with a 9.6, but the 9.6 basically takes up all the space in the compartment, so it is a little bit tough putting the butt plate back on the gun, but otherwise, it comes with a 9.6. It's a nice advantage. You don't have to go out and buy a 9.6, but you might want to buy a bigger butt plate for the gun so you can actually hold the battery inside without having the worry of tearing your wires. Fire selector switch, you have two of them considering the trigger is a form of the selector switch. You have this small revolving piece down here you can simply push to turn it on to safe, semi, and auto, but also as long as the gun is off safe, you can just pull your trigger once for semi-automatic and pull it all the way back for full auto. So I do like the trigger on the gun. It's like an AUG trigger. These triggers tend to have problem after a while, but at the moment this one's fine. It does have that backup selector switch down here, so you don't have to rely on the trigger the entire time, because what usually happens is the semi-automatic no longer works. It just goes full auto each time, but you do have the nice setting down here for semi-automatic. Magazine-wise, it comes with a 70-round mid-capacity magazine. As Mike mentioned, the mid-caps seem to be better than the high caps. Really no feeding issues with this thing. Since it only holds 70 rounds, you probably want to buy 1 or 2 spare magazines, or just buy a high cap. But, like I said, the mid-caps are a little bit better for the gun. This piece here, no function at all because your hop-up's located down here. The trap door that kind of keeps it shut seems not to lock very well, so it probably will come undone, but you can simply slip your finger in there and turn your hop-up. Red dot on the gun, it's a little bit bright, but otherwise it's a nice feature to have on the weapon. And the RAS rail on here for tactical scenarios, so you can put a flashlight or a laser on there. So overall, I think this is a really cool gun. P90s are something a lot of people like. Like I said, I didn't like it at first. Now I kind of really like it a lot. And this is a great weapon if you're going into CQB, or if you want something as a backup, like Mike is a sniper for my squad. So this is something he carries on his back for those tight situations. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the review here. If you're interested in purchasing 2 of the forms of the KS P90, not the TR unfortunately, just the normal and the long barrel version, there'll be a link down below to Airsoft Station where you can purchase this gun for $130 to $135. So with that being said, this has been Deathcore Airsoft's review of the KS P90 TR.